Good morning, everyone. How do we feel? We are here to play Lost Origin in Lille, and we have just finished a really exciting round 2. I am now joined by the one, the only, Freya. Welcome back to the desk. How are you feeling after your round 1 and then our round 2?
I mean, round 1 was a nail-biter, right to the wire with the two different sort of Giratina variants going up against each other. It's I think that this tournament is set to be probably one of the most exciting I've seen in a very long time. And we've already had some very exciting tournaments this season.
Definitely posed to be great. I think that as we mentioned at the start of the show, Salt Lake City sort of throwing things into a bit of array, lots of decks that no one really expected.
Very much so.
And now we have a mishmash of everything. We have the European players keen to play the things they've been testing since they first saw the deck the set released. Not had a chance to go to a regional with it yet. Some sticking with their picks, others choosing to adapt to the Salt Lake City meta. Lots of Giratina we've seen so far. How are you feeling about Giratina today?
It's interesting to me because it feels like Giratina here is I don't know if I'd say more represented. I don't really have the full sort of meta breakdown yet, but it definitely does seem like more of the European players are favouring Giratina variants compared to how we've seen in some of like the regionals so far. It seems like in Salt Lake City and Peoria, a lot of the Lost Zone variants were favoured more on that sort of Lost Zone box single prize engine.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that the reason it's played more this weekend is just because people have been waiting to play it, they've tested it a lot, it's a deck they feel confident with? Or do you feel that based on the Salt Lake City results, people have picked it specifically to get through that meta?
It's probably a little bit of A, a little bit of B, and this is something I mentioned during the first round, the fact that we talked to Stefan Ivanov, who was one of our round 1 players, about the fact that how Giratina is very sort of straightforward in how it functions. So as a pick that you know is just solid going into a tournament, it makes sense to sort of lean into that as a choice.
Definitely. I think we've known over the years, we played for a long time, and everyone who's watching, consistency is key in this game. If you're in the game, you get to play it. And I think that definitely at the minute with things like Path, Marnie, Roxanne, having that consistency in your deck, such as Giratina, such as Mew, such as Arceus, allows you to stay in the game and have an opportunity to win as often as possible.
Yeah, and of course, Giratina is variants are not really affected by Path that much. Of course, I mean, maybe your Radiant Greninja won't work, but your entire draw engine is based on Comfey, which is, of course, a non-rulebox Pokemon, so the Path will not hurt that at all.
Yeah, I think that definitely showing its merit here in the earlier rounds. But me and Ross just having a discussion there at the end of the round, and it's going to be a big talking point today, and I have to get your opinion on it.
Go for it.
Arceus Giratina or Lost Box Giratina?
So I'll put it this way. Were I playing this tournament and not casting it, I would probably be playing Arceus Giratina.
Oh, well, there we are. That says everything I need to know, doesn't it? There we go. So what merits do you think that deck has over the Giratina that we just saw?
I think the merits that it has is that it is a deck that can very effectively use that sort of Marnie Path disruption that can put so many other decks to bed. And I think that the fact that you have you essentially have like two very excellent attackers being matched together, right? Arceus accelerates energy, the power gets any 2 cards you need to your hand, and then you have this Giratina that can basically do a one-hit knockout on most of the format, and those two together just make a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think Starbirth proving its worth, well, since it came out, since Brilliant Stars, right, in so many decks, able to activate so many different Pokemon. We've seen everything from Giratina all the way to Aggron at Worlds be used with it, and I think that definitely a strong card able to accelerate that energy, but more than that, we have that new fantastic card, Giratina. Wow, Star Requiem, what an amazing V-Star ability. And for our next round, are we going to see any more of it?
Well, we are about to find out, as we do, in fact, have our players ready to go. As you see there, it is a British face-off here. We can have Adam Hawkins against Kai Wainwright, and it is going to be, yes, Arceus Giratina, but up against Palkia.
Palkia, definitely. Well, we haven't seen a Palkia so far. However, a very, very dominant force since its release in Astral Radiance, both being played with Inteleon, and then more recently, Kyurem, one of the newer decks. How do you think that this plays out? What do you think the merits are for both decks in this matchup?
Well, I guess on the obvious front of it, Giratina can one-shot Palkia easily, and importantly, they can do it without putting too much on the bench. That's the thing. You only really need an Arceus and a Giratina out, and that forces the Palkia to have perhaps an impossible amount of resources to get enough on like their bench. You have to play at 4 Echoing Horns or something like that, and then to get it to that point. But of course, the Arceus Giratina player might be forced to bench more than that, and then there might be an opening there, and then the Palkia can one-shot back.
Okay, well, we jump straight into the game now, and It looks like we've got some dodgy prizes here for both players.
Yes.
Adam looking at 2 Arceus V and his prizes. 2 Psychic Energy as well. Could be Giratina does Lost Zone a lot of energy when it attacks. And Kai, 2 Drizzile and 1 Inteleon. And I'm just looking now at his count on the Inteleon. It does look like he plays 2.
Okay.
He does play 2. So it's not curtains yet on that, but it is less chance of him hitting it.
Yeah.
And straight off the bat, we see everyone's favorite first turn. Battle VIP Pass.
Yes, so Battle VIP Pass, as we've already mentioned, such a strong card to play. And if you can see it turn 1, that's pretty much going to be, you're pretty much going to be smiling all the way through. Kai's going to be able to get 2 Pokemon onto the bench, and it's going to be, of course, 2 of those Sobbles. Interestingly enough, kind of accepting the risk against the Lost Zone box variants and playing the 60 HP Sobbles.
Yeah, it's been a big talking point, right, this last couple of weeks. Is it 60 or 70 HP? Is Keep Calling more valuable than the extra 10 HP? Well, we might find out here, definitely, because on Adam's side of the board, not playing a Sableye. So he doesn't have access to the spread, so maybe not.
But I mean, to be fair though, like with Sableye, you don't really have the engine to get Sableye going with Arceus Giratina. You're not playing any of the Lost Zone cards.
It's unlikely to get 10.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's definitely true.
Yeah, you had to do the attack 5 times, and by that point you've won the game anyway. So,
but more interestingly, the Espeon VMAX making its way into Adam's deck. We did see it quite a lot at Salt Lake City. A really interesting tech, protecting you from effects of attacks of your opponents, stopping that Sableye from damaging yourself. What do you think about that in Arceus Giratina?
I think it has a lot of merit, and I think a player as, long-standing and skilled as Adam could be considered very carefully about whether this space is in the deck that takes up warranted, and he's obviously decided yes. And given we know the power of the Lost Zone box deck, I think it makes a lot of sense to include it.
Yeah, definitely. And Adam here going for a pretty standard Arceus. Arceus is a card that I really like because oftentimes we judge other decks' first turns by how much we see, how many things we see them do. But to be honest with you, Arceus attach is as good as it gets for Arceus on its first turn. They're pretty happy with that as long as the V-Star comes down second turn.
Yeah, the Arceus decks have always been like this. They don't really need much to get going, and that goes back
to it is.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier, right, about the fact that Arceus can get away with a good setup with not a lot of bench Pokemon, and that is exactly the kind of deck that can do well against Palkia, as we see there.
We see the fist bump for 7. That Professor's Research opting for the Juniper in this deck. And Adam, wow, a really good first turn so far. The attachment, the band, able to KO the Palkia with a band and a Zigzagoon drop.
There's no V-Star.
Oh yeah, no, I mean.
Next turn. Yeah, next turn.
Down the line. Getting ahead of myself, but definitely right now the Arceus, the band, an attachment, great first turn, and then being able to Trinity Charge 3 energy to that Giratina, making it a threat straight off the bat.
That's an extremely solid first turn, and equally Adam with only putting 1 on the bench. I mean, Kai could in theory get a knockout, but there's going to be a lot of work needed to get there.
Yeah, he's started off with what he wants to see, though. He's got that bucket, meaning that he's able to get 2 water energy out of the deck, put them in his hand, and I think I see, I thought it's the V-Star, the Palkia at the front of his hand there. 2 Sobble. Has he got access to, there's the Irida, I was going to say, has he got access to a Drizzile this turn to really move himself forward? Irida, grabbing yourself a water Pokemon and an item card.
Yes, so Irida, one of the supporters that I think really lent itself to the increasing strength of the Inteleon engine and, of course, the strength of Palkia as an archetype as a whole. And proving it there with going for, of course, Radiant Greninja, which is one of the other reasons why
one of the other many long list of reasons Palkia is a very good card.
Yeah.
And we see Greninja a lot. Greninja really pulling ahead is probably the most played Radiant Pokemon. We have seen Guard of War and Hawlucha recently, being able to opposite ends of the coin, reducing damage and increasing damage. But in Palkia it makes so much sense. Getting that water energy in there, activating your Melanese as well with those discards of water, activating Star Portal as well for Palkia, grabbing 3 water out of the discard, attach them any way you like. So it's definitely got its merits, Greninja. And we see the Scoop Up Net for the second concealed cards.
Yes, of course, resetting that ability, going for the concealed cards again, just wanting to draw as much as possible and try to find his way into a Palkia V-Star, perhaps, like the one just there. And does have the second water energy in hand ready to go to attach, and will be able to go for... I forgot the name of the attack, this is so bad.
Subspace 12.
Yes.
It's around a lot at the minute. It's definitely one that's ingrained in my head right now, definitely. And opting for the big charm here. That's really interesting. Really trying to stay out of the way of that damage. Putting it in his hand. instead of attaching it straight away.
Yes,
Got the Evo Incense as well to get himself another Drizzile this turn. And that's the great thing with Drizzile. You can get countless supporters, countless trainers throughout your turn, and really, really move your hand forward to where you want to see it.
Another Drizzile, or perhaps I think more ideally, I think Kai wants to get a second Palkia V-Star, because the way you want to set up the build-up of the Inteleon engine is that you ideally want to have like one of the basic, one of the stage 1, so that you can have the option of either going for Drizzile or Inteleon to search for things. And actually, just like Kai is actually going straight for the Shady Dealings Inteleon, in fact, for next turn.
For next turn, I'm just checking here to see if he plays that cheeky rare candy that he does indeed play. The cheeky rare candy that's been sneaking in the decks recently. Maybe not something he has in his hand right now, but is an option if a Sobble is ever left down there. And Inteleon being able to grab him 2 trainers straight off the bat. Yeah,
of course, rare candy. It's funnily enough, a card that for the longest time just didn't see play because there were no really stage 2 decks that were like viable as attackers. But here, in combination with the Inteleon engine, seeing play as a one-of just to kind of skip ahead from Sobble to Inteleon and just really go straight for the 2 trainers that might, when 1 isn't quite enough from a Drizzile.
Definitely, and I think that the big charm here, as I was going to mention before it came down, a really, really big card in this matchup. Obviously, Kai's going to be hoping that that Giratina can't find itself a choice band, being able to go straight through a Palkia with 310, trying to make himself a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger to be able to deal with those attacks. And it could definitely cause problems. Adam does play 2 Choice Belt. So it is, it is in the deck. It's available to him. 1's already down.
Yeah.
So he needs to find another one to be able to get through this Palkia with the Giratina.
Yeah, that is true. We do see there Kai just going for the subspace swell. Obviously not quite enough for a knockout, so with only 5 on the bench total, so doing 160 damage. And now it's going back to Adam to see what kind of counter-attack he can mount. Like you said, going to need to find another Choice Belt for the Giratina if there's going to be a KO happening on this active Palkia V-Star. But doesn't look like he quite has it yet. So first off, going for an Ultra Ball. I imagine we're going for an Arceus V-Star here.
Yeah, I think that Starbirth here is too important not to opt for. Another important note is Kai did actually use Star Portal at the end of his last turn, using his V-Star power, putting 2 energy onto his Greninja. Now Greninja, we talked about how good its ability is. Concealed card's great, but its attack is just as good.
Yeah.
90 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Incredible card.
Yeah, Moonlight Shuriken, it's like you said, as if like the ability wasn't good enough, but it also has this insane attack that can, combining with being easily powered up with the Star Portal, just can snipe 2 things, either finishing off something in the active and something else on the bench, or just picking off 2 easy bench sitters, like say, against other Inteleon decks. You can just pick off their whole engine. It is probably one of the strongest cards to come out of that whole set, if I'm honest.
Definitely, and I think definitely showing its merit as the best Radiant Pokemon. Probably, well, should I say the most versatile?
Yes.
Radiant Pokemon here in a lot of decks, and of course with Mirage 8 coming out, it's finding its way into things like Lost Box and other things being able to be activated by Mirage Gates as well as Star Portal. But Adam here opting for the Giratina V-Star off that original search, and then opting for the Arceus, and now searching his deck with Starbirth for any 2 cards that he likes. The God Pokemon does what it wants. It gets any 2 cards that he wants.
And interestingly enough, we did see a peek of it in his hand. Adam choosing to play the Radiant Gardevoir as the Radiant Pokemon of choice, not going for the Radiant Hawlucha, perhaps thinking there aren't really enough like VMAXs in the format that warrant playing it. I mean, Kyurem VMAX is obviously a big factor in the format, but maybe Adam thinking I don't really need Radiant Hawlucha to beat that deck, perhaps.
I think maybe the other one being Mew, but obviously playing the choice belts, he's hoping that maybe without Oricorio, Mew wouldn't be able to survive a hit from Giratina. Obviously Star Requiem in that matchup as well. If not, Starbirthing can be really strong, being able to take 3 prizes for just 1 attack. And the retreat here and going into the Giratina.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. The other choice belt.
There is the belt. And that is not good news for Kai. Putting that big charm on, trying to protect that Palkia, but unfortunately not enough to keep it in the game. And it is knocked out by our Giratina.
Yeah, and that's an insanely strong first KO for Adam now, because Kai is now left with a Greninja with 2 energy and a Palkia with nothing. And with Star Portal already used, Kai basically needs to find Melanie in order to be able to attack the Palkia this turn.
Yeah, I think another really, really exciting note here is that Adam opting to discard the energy of Arceus instead of himself, meaning this Giratina is posed and ready to go again next turn, meaning that if Kai can't find the answers to either move it or knock it out, it's going to be a rough 3rd turn as well.
So there's the capture energy going on to the Greninja, so Kai will be able to search a deck for any basic Pokemon and put it onto the bench. Probably going to grab another Sobble just so that Inteleon Shady Dealings engine can keep going.
The loop keeps going and the wheel keeps turning.
Yeah.
But the Greninja also now ready to go. 2 water and a colorless to be able to use Moonlight Shuriken.
Yep.
So that is posed and ready to go. Kai's only real option as of right now, if he's already attached there, having used Star Portal already. So we may did it do enough damage to the Arceus?
No, because it was 160 damage.
160.
There was 5 on the bench total, 4 on one side, 1 on the other. So yeah, plus the 90, that'll be 250, which is not enough still.
Not enough, and that is not spelling good signs for Kai.
No, it's not.
But as we said, opting for that Sobble, making sure that that loop can continue to turn, and then benching another Palkia. Very, very important here. He can't go without an attacker if this other Palkia V goes down.
Yeah, absolutely not. And not gonna be able to commit an energy to either of the Palkias, unfortunately, which is a shame. But actually, just gonna go for the boss's orders. Gonna bring up the Arceus V-Star. Of course, it doesn't have any energy on it, so maybe Kai is hoping that it will get stuck, and he'll be able to capitalize on that. But then going for the Moonlight Shuriken. Yeah, 90 on the active, 90 on the Giratina V-Star.
The Giratina V-Star now dropping down in HP, meaning it's going to be easier for our Palkia to pick it off later on in the game if Kai so wishes. And of course, that Arceus only 30 HP left. It's going to be quite easy for something. Kai may play the quick shooting Inteleon here.
I don't believe I saw it in the deck list, though. It's
yes,
it isn't there? Oh, no, I was wrong.
Indeed there. So Kai definitely going to be able to ping that off at some point if he's able to get the Inteleon down, maybe allowing him to get one of those incredible 3 or 4 prize turns.
Yeah, absolutely. So now down goes the Radiant Gardevoir. Maybe Adam wishes he would have benched that last turn and would have reduced some damage coming in. Although, wait, no, the only blocks damage on Vs, yeah.
Vs, right?
Okay, yeah, so in any case, it's been played down now.
The Arceus, and Kai's plan worked. He was able to trap the Arceus there, set it up very nicely, just that boss. Sometimes it's a play you need to do. Give yourself an extra turn, keep yourself in. As we said at the start, if you're in the game, you have a chance to win it.
Yes.
And Kai proving there just how to do that, keeping himself sustainable, bossing that into the active, keeping him alive in this game, and the Inteleon comes down from hand, going back in for 2 more trainers.
And there goes the shady dealings on the Inteleon for 2 trainer cards. Obviously, one of them going to be that Melanie straight away. There's no other option there.
It's a given.
Yeah, it's given.
It has to be that.
Without the Melanie, an attack can't happen this turn. But it is going to be interesting to see what the other card Kai goes for is here. Looks like perhaps...
he needs to get the V-Star down, right? So perhaps something that allows him to access that. Obviously, we see the Incense coming to the front of the deck, allowing him to grab that straight from the deck if he so plays it. Or, the Scoop Up Net as well, picking up that Drizzile and Inteleon most probably, putting it back down on the Sobble and going back in for another search.
Yes, as Scoop Up Net is, of course, basically one of the crutch parts that makes the Inteleon engine so successful as is, because it's not just the fact that you can evolve up all these lines and you can keep searching for these trainers, you can pick them up with Scoop Up Net and just like reuse them. And I think it's safe to say once Scoop Up Net rotates out of the format, the Inteleon engine probably won't see play in the same way it has.
It definitely won't be the same way that it's utilised now. Well, I think definitely talking with Ross last round as well, Scoop Up Net, it's a key to so many locks as well, being able to reuse Greninja, being able to reuse your Inteleons, moving those Comphase up and down the board as well, being able to flower select as much as possible. Great card, and of course, very suited for this deck.
Yes, so Kai gonna need to still find another water energy, of course, and I actually don't see one in Kai's hand.
Off the 3 he got from Melanie.
That could spell danger here, because if Kai can't get the attack off with the Palkia V-Star, then the Arceus V-Star being trapped in the active for another turn doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it sort of counteracts it, doesn't it? The extra turn he bought himself didn't come to anything in fruition. It didn't get him any advantage. Therefore, it goes back to where it was. And unfortunately, that position was where Kai didn't look too strong in the game. So the Scoop Up Net, picking up that Inteleon, as we said, and Kai perhaps opting to go back into the deck again with Shading Dealings here. And he does.
Yeah, so if there's another Capacious Bucket left in the deck, then obviously that can find the water energy needed, and it looks like there is, so yeah, that is fine.
Capacious Bucket, a brilliant card in this deck again. An item, it's item energy, essentially.
Yes.
You can grab your energy whenever you like. Definitely a merit not many other decks in the format have.
No.
It's definitely something very unique to Palkia, being able to use an item to grab its energies. Professor's Letter back in the day,
yeah,
very similar.
I was going to say, I remember a time when any deck had access to that, but now it's only water decks that have access to that.
Water's only, everyone else is banned, and Kai here showing its worth, grabbing that water he needs to get the attack off.
Feels a bit unfair, doesn't it?
I think still missing the V-Star here, though.
Oh.
Yeah, the attach to the other Palkia, just giving himself a little bit of insurance in case this one goes down. And the heavy ball, looking at his prizes.
Oh, yes. Struggling to pick them up a little bit, but
there were no basics in there. So Hisui and heavy ball, for those of you who don't know, you can look at your prizes, take a basic Pokemon that's in there, put it into your hand, switch it with another card from your hand, shuffle your prizes, and put them back. Of course, we did note that there were Drizziles and Inteleons in his prizes, but unfortunately no basics for him to grab. But information is power in the Pokemon TCG, and definitely knowing what those prizes are will help him along, I'm sure, in this game.
Indeed so. And now...
However, he's done us an injustice and not put him back out properly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, we can't see what's...
We'll have to have a stern word at the end of the game.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, it's sorted now. It's all good. It's all gravy.
So Kai just trying to map out here what's the best thing to do. We see that Adam now getting rid of, obviously, the Espeon V went in the discard earlier, so the VMAX probably going to follow suit. No use for it at the minute in this matchup.
And then, so that must mean then that Kai was able to find the Capacious Bucket, but not the evolution.
Yes.
So, yeah, was just forced to attach.
I imagine now he's just trying to work out in his head just the best way to try and keep himself in this game as much as possible. Adam on the opposite side of the table, trying to find the quickest way to close it out and put Kai in the vice and really squeeze this deck out of play. And the Palkia is gone, and Kai down to his last attacker. Will he be able to swing this back in his direction?
It is the classic Zigzagoon combo to get the extra 10, and then 210 on the Trinity Nova Choice Belt combo, and that will be all she wrote for that Palkia. Adam is in a commanding position here, and even if Kai is able to mount a counterattack now with the Palkia, Adam can just come in with the Giratina and win.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Kai is against the ropes here. As you said, that brilliant utility of Zigzagoon, another great card that has been around for a long time, but allowing Arceus to almost counteract with the band and the Zigzagoon, that -20 from the double turbo energy, still making a strong V attacker, being able to take out his fellow two prizes.
Yeah, and Kai isn't completely out of it. Of course, that Giratina on the bench is still damaged, so if there's enough stuff on the bench going on, then Kai can use that cross switcher in his hand to bring up the Palkia and bring up the Giratina and knock it out.
Double Inteleon search will definitely allow him to find a way there. Seeing the ban come to the front of the deck, Kai looking for the best way possible to do enough damage to this Giratina. As you said, probably his best route to victory, getting rid of Kai's biggest damage threat, and then of course that Arceus only on 30 HP still.
Yes, so it looks like the choice is going to be a Choice Belt and the Capacious Bucket, and the Bucket just going to be played straight away to grab a Water Energy. And that's going to be everything that Kai needs, as long as Kai has the extra V-Star in hand, which I don't see.
Still don't see it.
But there
does have an Irrider in hand, though,
so that should be able to grab it, and looks like there's going to be a cross switcher as well. And I do actually believe with the Choice Belt this is enough for the KO.
Yeah, I think the Guardy was causing him a bit of trouble there, but I think with the belt he's able to just jump over that threshold.
So there you go, Choice Belt onto the Palkia, and then sort of Kai just sorting out the board a little bit, just making sure that the Inteleon is nice and neat. Always love to see that.
Definitely a pleasure for us. A tidy board makes this job a lot easier, and the Irrider, of course, as we mentioned, one water Pokemon and an item card. Opt in for the Palkia here, and perhaps the Quick Ball. It looks like he moved to the front of the deck. The Palkia, the main candidate of what he needs here. There's going to be no attack this turn. There's going to be no knockout on that Giratina without it.
And Kai also maybe considering grabbing Evolution Incense plus a Water. That way, that's the extra basic needed on the bench to make sure that damage is enough. But kind of umming and ahhing about which way around to do it, because you could grab Quick Ball and the V-Star, or you could grab the Evolution Incense and a basic.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think Kai's deciding which way around is better.
Trying to find out what gives him more value late game. I think obviously the Evolution Incense still being able in the late game to find him those Drizziles, that quick shoot and Inteleon that we might see maybe have a chance to snipe this on Arceus down.
Yeah, and then using the Quick Ball to discard a Raihan, which, given that Raihan isn't very useful right now because it can only be used when a Pokemon is knocked out, and if Adam knocks out a Pokemon, he wins the game anyway.
It's curtains anyway.
Yeah, so
Raihan going.
Gone. There's the V-Star, and that will be just about...
Just enough to get himself the knockout here. And Adam, in a peculiar situation here, he had such a strong grip on this game. Kai playing that turn very well, being able to position himself great, taking away Adam's biggest threat. And now, of course, he needs to find a way to charge up another Pokemon with this Arceus, and the Raihan will do just that, allowing him to attach 1 energy from the discard and then search his deck for any card.
Yeah, I imagine that Adam will probably, if possible, want to get another Giratina on board, although there is a possibility that that is not in play because there is still a Giratina V in the prizes, and as I recall, there's only a 2-2,
right?
So that actually means that Adam can't get out another Giratina right now.
No, it doesn't, and I mean, for him, it is, that is going to cause him a little bit of problems here. Giratina, the only thing that can take a clean 1-hit knockout on that V-Star, so having to hit it twice here, and the Arceus doing just that.
Yes.
Kai now, it's an interesting situation. He needs to almost, there's no Drizzle down, so it's not like he can sort of, here he could go for the quick shooting twice, if that was so.
Yes.
Maybe take the knockout on the Arceus and hit into something else, but there's not really many other options here apart from hitting with his Palkia, leaving it in the active, and even the Arceus V just doing 130 damage for 3 energy will be enough to clean up the rest of the game.
Yeah, Kai isn't in a state where it's impossible to win, but it is very difficult because there is only 1 Palkia on the board that is severely damaged, and if there is a way to do it, Kai would probably ideally like to attack Vintelli on this turn, because that would still be enough to KO the Arceus, but then it would be leaving a single prizer in the active. But I don't really see a way for Kai to do that right now, because there's no access to Raihan, because there was no knockout and it got discarded anyway.
Just looking through his deck, about the same size as his hand
now,
so looking through both, looking in the deck now, for those who couldn't tell the difference between the two. This Drizzle, allowing him to get an item card. I don't know if there's much left in there that's going to give him sort of instant value here. Those cross-switcher, already having made a big cross-switcher play this game, and he chooses to scoop. Kai realizing the writing's on the wall, it's going to be very unlikely for him to win the game, and perhaps opting to have that extra time to try and get a 2-1 victory.
Writing on the wall, that wasn't the pun, was it?
No, definitely not.
So yeah, Adam will be taking game 1 in this series, and yeah, we were talking about Arceus Giratina just before the game started, and that right there is exactly the strength of Arceus Giratina against a deck like Palkia.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really highlighted everything you were saying about it literally right before the game. Adam just being able to go from the A to the B like a taxi ride, as simple as it comes, did everything he needed to and just kept the game going. And of course, he was able to finish off the game, even if it went back to his turn as well, and Kai choosing to give himself more time. Will we see another 3-game round this round? Because so far we've been very lucky with the standard of games.
Yes, we will have to see. Yeah, I think that generally speaking, it's very plain to see that Adam has the favored matchup here, because Arceus is one of those few decks that can set up a 1-hit knockout on a Palkia without overbenching. That's kind of where one of the few weaknesses of the Palkia archetype lies, you could say. So, and Adam is absolutely exploiting that to the maximum we can.
Do you think that there's sort of a alternative sort of line that Kai can take to maybe set up his board so his Palkias are less threatened? Is there, would it maybe be better to go for Greninja early game, for example? Can you think of anything that he can sort of do?
It is tricky to say, because, I mean, he did kind of do that in the last game, right? It was pretty early on where there was a Greninja coming out. It wasn't the first thing he attacked with, but we saw the Star Portal early on. Maybe one consideration could be to just make sure that there's enough attacking Palkias early on as well, because that's the thing. We saw he had to attack with Greninja because there was the Star Portal on there instead of like a bench Palkia or two, and at that point it was a bit more of a struggle to get the follow-up attackers going. So maybe that's something that Kai can consider.
Yeah, a couple of speed bumps in the early game maybe set Kai up for a poor late game. But this game, we might see a different story. A strong start from Kai would definitely put him in a good position, especially against Arceus. The first turn, second turn, very predictable, the same thing. That Palkia can sort of try and overpower the Arceus before it's able to Starbirth. Kai could find himself in a very strong position.
Oh, and Kai's hand is actually very, very strong. We see the Palkia start, but there I did also see a Battle VIP pass in hand.
And his prizes a lot better this time. Yes, the 2 Evo Incense, but it does mean that all his Drizzles are in deck, able to see those naturally. And Adam, 2 Arceus V again. They are just loving that little glass sheet on the table, wanting to stay there for this afternoon.
Yeah,
Two lovely sofas.
Those are some really, really lovely sofas.
Not for sale, unfortunately. they're ours. But and back to the game.
Yeah.
And Kai here again, Battle VIP pass. We've seen it so often already today. We'll continue to see it for the rest of the day. The best card on turn 1.
Do you think you could use a Battle VIP pass to buy 2 sofas?
I think it's worth it, right?
Yeah,
I think I would definitely, in value, say that they are equal. Just depends who's selling.
Yeah.
Depends who's selling.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
think.
Anyway, enough about that. Yeah, Kai's start has been very, very strong here. We see going for the Greninja straight away, of course. Double Sobble, pretty much everything you want to get going. And the only other ideal thing, of course, would be to get a second Palkia down. As we mentioned, we saw that there was a struggle with Kai chaining attackers in the last matchup, so I really want to do that as quickly as possible. And then going back.
Course, and going straight off the bat with the Avery.
Yes.
Avery drawing in 3 cards. Kai not having to discard anything off his bench, though. Only 3 Pokemon on his bench to start with.
Yeah.
And Adam now searching his deck. I'm not sure if he's gone in. The Quick Ball on that side of the table.
Yes.
So discarding a Psychic Energy and going in to find himself another basic Pokemon.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Avery, right? The whole point of it as a card is that it obviously has this very powerful bench discarding effect for the opponent, but it is also a card that can just draw free and bail you out when you need to. And that's one of the whole reasons why it's seen strength in play as like a, I guess you could say, like a power supporter, right?
Yeah, I think it was a really interesting time, like a little while ago. They sort of brought a couple of sort of draw 3 and an additional effect. You know, we had Bird Keeper, nice switch out and draw 3. Avery draw 3. Melanie attach a Water Energy from the discard, draw 3.
Yeah.
A couple of really strong cards there, and as he said, that the extra addition of the cards as well as just what it does really makes them a valuable card to have in your deck.
And then Gardenia's Vigor is only draw 2.
Yeah.
Where's the justice?
Where is the justice? One of my favourite gym leaders as well, I must say.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that your gym leader got hard done by.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't mind Melanie either. So Adam here coming, the path straight down. He is making sure that Kai next turn, no Greninja, no Star Portal. Let's try and close him out this game as quickly as possible. I have not had the best start. No. Trinity Charge turn 1 this time. Only a Capture Energy on the Arc as well, meaning he needs a DTE next turn. Not his best turn.
Yeah, and honestly, although the path obviously doesn't do nothing, I don't think Kai is as hurt by it as Adam would like it to be, because of course it stops the Star Portal, but Kai can just attach an energy and attack that way. It stops the Radiant Greninja, so sure, that's not ideal, but it also shuts off Adam's Radiant Gardevoir.
Yes, it does indeed. Those Radiant Pokemon, lots of people forget sometimes they are in fact rule box Pokemon. Only 1 allowed in the deck, so Path to the Peak becoming a valuable card to stop those. And the Irida here grabbing the Palkia V-Star. Kai this time, no hiccups in the early game, able to get that down turn 2 and going for the level ball. Perhaps maybe seeing another Sobble or alternatively a Drizzle coming down this turn.
Yes. So Palkia V-Star evolving from the Palkia V straight away. Manaphy down as well. And Water Energy already in hand, ready to attack. Not quite enough still to get the KO. Would need another Pokemon on the bench and a Choice Belt, and looks like that's not possible.
And I really like this play from Kai. He knows that the path is down. He knows that Adam has access to cards like Marnie, leaving the level ball in hand, not needing it too soon, leaving a Sobble Bear, should I say, for a Drizzle to be dropped next turn, allowing him to have access to cards and not relying on Greninja too much. Really, really smart there by Kai. Hitting into that Greninja, and Adam, 2 Choice Bands and a Research, needing to attach those Choice Bands, so making sure he gets a bit of value out of them. Somewhat.
Choice Belt, to be fair.
Choice Belt, of course. Banned. And Adam now going back into his deck, or is
no, just drawing off the Research.
Oh, just drawing off the Research.
Yes.
Drawing off the Research. That's his 7 cards.
Yep, and now we get a good look here to see what's been drawn. And
Espeon V again making a feature. Another path to Marnie, and as I said, the Marnie of a huge possibility. I know he's already researched this turn, but it was a possibility. Maybe that Kai was looking out for with the path in play.
Not really a great hand though.
It's
like
no DTE for the Arceus, no Activator, and no switch out as well for him to move that Giratina.
No, exactly.
Which means that it's most likely going to go down now this turn. And Kai in a favourable position already in this game. Adam not having the answers for him so far, and that level ball coming down this time. And I think now we'll see the Drizzle.
Yeah. So, level ball for that Drizzle, and that's going to be able to continue that shady dealings chain. Kai's got to be pretty happy with the turn that Adam just took, because, Adam's turn could have been, switch, double turbo, Trinity Nova, get a Giratina powered up, all this good stuff. And instead it was basically attaching energy and then...
And lots of tools.
Yes.
Just attaching nice accessories to all of his Pokemon.
Yes.
And that is pretty much all. A Psychic Energy on the Arceus. It does mean, however, the Arceus not out of the game yet. It can attack next turn if it doesn't go down this turn with just one attachment.
Yep. And then it's going to be... But 1 second here. So now going with the evolution intense again, and or just trying to decide what to get off of the Shady Dealings rather. And looks like there's going to be a scoop up there and a boss's orders.
Orders. And
it spells
Kai,
danger.
Yeah, it spells danger. He realizing here that the Giratina's not going to be able to activate themselves. Arceus being the boss man in the deck, commanding those energies, telling them where to go. Kai realizing that and making sure the threat is taken away before it gets a chance to do its thing.
You say Arceus is boss man. I think the boss man just brought up the Arceus for a KO.
The boss man brought up the god man, should we say.
Yes. Right, so now...
Goes over to Adam.
Wait, no, that's a scoop.
Oh, and there's a scoop from Adam. Adam realized, you know what,
yeah.
I actually think this is smart. Adam realizing
so as well.
No way to get those energies down on his Giratina. As we mentioned before, the Mirage Gate, not something he has a lot of access to in this deck. Well, not a lot of access, he doesn't have access to it. No. So, you know, the Arceus being the means of being able to charge those energy up. Giratina, no energy on it so far. 2 of them down, no other Arceus down. He spelled that he was going to have a pretty tough time for the rest of that game.
Yeah, and now that Adam has conceded this game this early, there is a almost full 20 minutes, not quite, it's like just over 18 minutes, just under 90 minutes. You get the idea. there is a ample amount of time to finish out this last game, and that's exactly what's going to happen here.
I think 2 very experienced players, both very experienced at tournament play as well, both understanding when the correct time is to scoop. Kai showing us that in the first game, Adam in the second, and once again we are going to a game 3 situation. How lucky have we been this morning, Freya?
Yeah, I think we've been very, very lucky to see so much sort of Pokemon action in one go. Yeah, like, because even I was saying at the beginning, or not at the beginning, but I was saying at the beginning of game 2 that maybe this will be the first 2-0, but no, even now it's gone to a game 3 after that, and it does show as well that Palkia usually never give up in an unfavorable matchup, right? I think that may sound like obvious to say, but after what we witnessed in game 1, you could very easily say, oh, that's just how it plays out every single time, but it very obviously isn't, right?
Definitely, and I think especially when it comes to good players, there's always lines, there's always a path to victory, no pun intended. And Kai there showing us that there is a different script in this game, and it is not all bad news. And his prizes, once again, there is one cross switcher in there. The Big Charm could play a big part in this, obviously. We saw in the first game trying to protect himself from the knockout there with that in the prizes. And Adams also not looking too bad. The Arceus has finally decided that they're gonna come to the game this time. They're done on vacation, and the Avery and 1 Giratina in there as well. 2 Quick Ball could make his first turn a little bit slower than usual, but he starts it up with a Capture Energy, most probably getting down that Arceus he wants.
Yes, although Luminion V as a starting Pokemon is not really ideal, of course.
Not ideal at all.
Of course, you want to be using that to use the Luminous Sign ability, get a supporter from your deck, but if you start with it, that's not really going to happen.
It's definitely not. However, only 1 retreat, so not the worst start that he could have had in his deck. He is able to get out with that, and going straight for the path, shutting off that Greninja from day dot, but Kai, the Irida in hand, and he is going to play that straight down.
Yeah, I think obviously Adam had to attach the Capture Engine to the active to get anything out, but this also means that there's no turn 1 attachment on an Arceus, and that hurts him a lot, especially going first. Like, that's exactly what you need to do to cement that turn 2 Trinity Nova, really sort of take advantage of going first, but Adam hasn't really been able to do that here. Yeah,
I think we mentioned right at the start of the game, right, Arceus, a very simple turn 1 that it wants, but an absolutely necessary one.
Yes.
And missing those attachments can really hurt it late on. And of course, Kai, once again, 3 for 3, a VIP pass again off the Irida, opting to get the Sobble out as well, and now going back in to get the rest of his friends. We see a Sobble come to the front of the deck.
Yes, Sobble plus obviously can go for one more.
Idea would be ideal, perhaps here.
Well, especially considering I do believe there was another Sobble already in Kai's hand, so yeah, it's definitely going to be going for the Palkia here, I would imagine.
Just having a look at those prizes and putting the Palkia to the front, so I think imminently we will see that. Do you think that Kai's in a good position here? The Luminion, an easy 2 prizes for him to take with those cross switches. Palkia definitely, well not definitely, you know, very likely to be able to hit that damage 170. All he needs to get through a Luminion.
Yeah, and actually we were slightly wrong in the sense that there was no. So off of the Battle VIP pass, Kai went for 2 Sobbles, but that's because he had a Palkia and a Sobble in hand.
Yeah. So a very, very strong turn 1 again from Kai.
And not only that, but like Adam doesn't really have a solid way to take a knockout here. Like, you know, there's no way for Adam to accelerate energy and get a Trinity Nova going this turn. So Adam is going to kind of have to like really struggle here and think about how he wants to best approach this and minimize the risk of something disrupting his setup. And looks like the answer to that is going to be attach Grass Energy and then Marnie.
Yes, there are some incredible duos in the world. Dick and Dom, Ant and Deck, none more likely than Marnie and Path to try and close your opponent out of the game. Cards that we see in combination very, very, very commonly.
Dick and Dom was my childhood, I'll have you know.
It's a good duo.
Yeah,
I don't quite think it's on Path Marnie's level, I'll be honest.
No, so
and Adam, there again, another really slow turn. Kai really needs to grasp this game by the horns now. That Drizzle is going to start him off nicely, go in that deck, push him forward. He's going to really hope here that he can perhaps take a knockout on the Arceus V. That would be his most ideal scenario here, being able to cross-switch it or boss into that.
Yeah, it's going to be another really, really solid turn for Kai as Adam basically finding nothing off of the Marnie and sort of if your opponent plays a Marnie and then just like passes straight away, you've got to be thinking this is my game to take.
Exactly. You've got to, as long as the Marnie was slightly kinder to you than it was to them,
yes,
you should be able to find a way through. The Irida here does mean though that the cross switch is going to be far more likely than the boss, of course, and Kai opting here to go for that rear candy we were talking about. The Inteleon already in hand as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
Already got half the combo right there for him. Able to grab 2 cross switcher with just 1 card, if that's what he chooses to do.
God, that is insanely strong. Now, I think the only saving grace for Adam here is that even if Kai were to find a 5th bench and a choice belt, that would be, what, 210 damage, which wouldn't quite be enough for a knockout.
Wouldn't be enough. But an Arceus before it's done anything, being on 210, is not a nice position you want to be in. And of course, we've mentioned a couple of times before, not seen it yet, but that quick shooting Inteleon is in the deck, meaning that if that Arceus is looking a little bit frail on the bench and isn't able to evolve, it can be picked off at a later point. It looks like Kai playing it a bit safer here, making sure he's got all the tools to keep himself in the game, set himself up, make sure he's got the best position possible to push forward, and going for the scoop up net.
Yeah.
And I think the bucket here, the bucket grabbing with 2 energies, and I think the net here picking up that Inteleon and resetting back down to a Sobble.
Yeah. And at this point, if you know you can't go for the KO on the Arceus, you may as well KO the active. Just like take the 2 prizes, you know, start that prize trade tempo race in your favor, because like sure, either way, Adam's going to be able to evolve into the V-Star perhaps and do a Star Birth next turn, but Adam also did nothing after Amani, so you probably aren't thinking that Adam has the best of hands to work with anyway.
Adam as well, sort of closing his hand in his own door as well, with that pass still being in play.
Yeah, oh, that's true, yeah.
The V-Star coming down next turn, obviously something that he's going to want. He's going to hope he hits a stadium of some sort, though, to be able to bump that. Yeah. Otherwise, he's going to continue to be locked under his own Marnie.
Interestingly, Kai, in that whole setup, not choosing to go for another bench Pokemon to actually not KOing Luminion. Was it impossible with the setup he had? Like, was it?
I'm trying to think. He definitely Palkia. He didn't have another basic in hand. Opted not to use the scoop up net this turn as well. So yeah, I assume not. It doesn't. He didn't have a ban, so no, I don't think the damage was ever possible from the hand that he had. 160 being his cap. So quick shooting looking pretty nice now though for the Luminion,
that is very true, yeah.
And of course Greninja, you know, Moonlight Shuriken doing 90 and 90, also doing 90 to that Arceus. KOing that Luminion could also be a good turn we see, and that Arceus doing what it does best and attacking, but unfortunately just 1 energy to Luminion. There, perhaps if Adam wants to move it in and back out again with a retreat, very smart, very safe to do. However, he's going to wish that was another attacker or another Arceus.
And there we go as well with Adam's turn just being ultra for Arceus V-Star and then attack. Still nothing going. And yeah, blocked off from Starbirth by his own hand as well.
And only 2 cards left in hand after all of that as well. So next turn not looking too fruitful either, unless he's able to top deck something really nice. Kai attaching to our 1 prize Inteleon, able to do 120 damage for 2 energy and 20 damage to the bench, which would be enough to take that sweet 2 prizes on the Luminion.
Yes, it would, and not only that, but it would be a double knockout scenario, right? Because 160 onto the Arceus plus 120, that's 280, which is an exact. So that'd be a double knockout, in fact, if it were to happen.
Kai here choosing to Marnie.
No, Adam Marnied.
Oh, Adam Marnied. My bad.
Yeah.
Adam Marnied.
So that was obviously that was an out. He drew that off the top of the deck, but still not finding anything to work with. I mean, look at this.
Nothing, just a rope, a path, already one in play. The Marnie again, Zigzagoon. Not the right time to be playing that, just getting an extra damage counter down, but that wants to be done in pair with the choice band, of course, on Arceus. An energy for retreat onto the Zigzagoon as well, and Adam really clutching at straws here.
Yeah, and this is one instance where, sure, Kai doesn't have any Palkias left, but it really does not matter because, like, as long as there's one water energy in hand, and I believe there is, oh, okay, just drew one even if there wasn't one, gonna be able to take a double knockout here, and Adam's left with a Zigzagoon with an energy. What does he even do?
I mean, it seems like a pretty strong board state to me.
Yeah.
Not even the right energy. Can't even do Zigzagoon's attack for Dark Colorless, can he? It's a Psychic. So, yeah, Kai definitely here, able to slam the door shut on Adam, stopping him having anything in the game. Of course, no Arceus V down at the minute either, meaning that that's not even a possibility to claw back in on the following turn.
And there's an Irida as well, so that both times when Adam played the Marnie, just basically helping Kai out much more than himself, and you've got to be pretty sad if you're in Adam's shoes right now. This is just not looking good at all, and it's so out of your control as well.
I think Marnie Path dropping down in the duos list now. I think Dick and Don back on top now. You know, it's not worked out too well for Adam twice as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you Marnie Path, you're meant to brick your opponent, not yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
well, you hope anyway.
Yeah.
So, and it seems to all be green lights for Kai at the minute. The Marnie activating his hand a lot, coming back into that Inteleon again, being able to search for 2 more item cards if he puts it, trainer cards if he puts it down, and then the scoop up net as well.
Yes, and I think that there's basically almost no way Kai loses this game. But as I like to say,
anything is possible.
Anything can happen in Pokemon, and it usually does.
It definitely usually does.
Paraphrasing the late great Murray Walker. But all the same, looking at this to me is like very clear that there's almost like no chance of Adam making a comeback
here. I think as well for Kai, not only is he in a dominant position, but Adam's asked no questions of him yet, which means he has access to a lot of his key cards still. You know, he's not been put under a lot of pressure where he's have to play cards in, you know, an order that wouldn't be suitable for him. He hasn't had to discard anything.
Let's be real. Kai hasn't even used a V-Star power yet. The Star Portal has not been used. I mean, there has been Path in play, granted, but as soon as Kai finds a counter stadium, then
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that you know he still has all the answers left in deck, and he's been the one asking the questions to Adam as well, with no answer, no reply, and this Inteleon, 4 prizes there.
Completely wiping out Adam's attackers, and Adam has to just send up the
Zigzagoon being left to do all the work on its own.
And it's not quite over yet.
Not quite over yet.
But it basically is.
The writing is there. Can Kai finish this book, this chapter, and push himself to a 3-0 record? He chooses the Greninja's cut. No, he doesn't.
No, maybe not. I think he's making sure that he doesn't do something silly that surrenders this, you know.
This dominantly, the quick ball.
Discarding a Raihan.
Again, in a similar situation, Raihan, really strong card, able to, you know, after a knockout, attach an energy, search for any card. But again, if Kai takes another knockout, except for on the Zigzagoon, it's curtains.
The only thing is, Adam could have maybe used Raihan this turn, possibly, because he could have quick balled something else away, gotten Arceus and Raihan to it. But I think
opting for Marnie, he has not felt burnt by the Marnie yet. Still relying on her to try and find a way back into this game. The Giratina finally coming down on Adam's side of the board, but there's a feeling I think it's too late now for that Giratina to put in the legwork that it usually does.
Yeah, obviously Adam's going to try his absolute best. He is a esteemed player, one of the best, and he's going to fight this tooth and nail. This is the man who took Aggron VMAX to the World Championships and finished in the top 16. If anyone can find a way out, it's him, as unlikely as it may seem.
And just the attachment and pass here, Adam, at the minute, not living up to that hype that we are talking about. An incredible player. I'm sure that he is thinking of every single possible way that he can get out of this, keep himself in the game, but Kai has this game in both hands at the minute, you have to say.
Yes, and Kai is just now maybe determining if it is possible to win this turn, but he really doesn't need to, right? He can just play it very, very safe, I guess, in a sense.
That's nice. The echoing horn for Luminion, meaning that damage cap that he needs to get to with the Palkia for a knockout is a lot lower. Also, he could even go here with Greninja, take a knockout on the Zigzagoon, meaning that he's only got a little bit of damage on Luminion for the next turn.
Well, now, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
As long as Kai has a way to bring up the Luminion, that is game, no question.
Yeah, no questions asked. And he's just looking here, checking all of his out, seeing if he has the answers. That one cross switch is still in the prizes, so you know, the great thing about Inteleon and Drizzile is you can hand-pick the cards you want. The odds aren't lowered for you needing to draw into them. So Kai has access to that if he needs it, going for the Drizzile here. And he's going to grab a trainer card from deck.
Yeah. We did already see Kai use 2 cross switches this game, so with the 4th being in the prizes, actually, that's not going to be an option. So it looks like it's just going to be a Melanie instead, and maybe just going to even like take a knockout on this Zigzagoon. Maybe if you don't have access to your other set of cross switches, then you kind of have to knock this out at some point, unfortunately. Even though ideally you wouldn't want to, because it's kind of doesn't get you further to winning when there's already 2 prizes on the board.
Melanie drawing 3. Can Kai see the V-Star, the energy, and a switch out here?
Possibly.
Hand just off screen. Can't see what's in it at the minute. Checking his discard, seeing what's in there. Knowing that he's already played those cross switches before, having Irided,
there's
the Evo Incense.
Yes. So obviously that's going to grab the Palkia V-Star, which was very, very important. We do see that there is still a boss's orders in Kai's deck, so that could be another way to seal the win earlier. Yes.
Looks like he's opting to go for the Inteleon here, perhaps for this turn, perhaps to secure the game next turn. This turn it does come down, back in, and that just shows the power of Inteleon, doesn't it? Drizzile in, back in with Inteleon.
This is something that's very important to learn as well. When you're in a commanding lead, sometimes if you know that you have extra turns to buy, it is more sensible to not go for the immediate win, but go for the win that you know. Oh wait, wasn't two already played this game?
Maybe another game.
No, maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was. Okay, well in that case, that's it.
And that is it. Kai finding that double cross switcher. That Inteleon absolutely showing its power there. It continues to be a dominating force in our formats. And what a card and what a player, Kai, on another good run. He's had a couple of really good finishes recently, and today is looking no different.
Yeah. If you want to talk about sort of like breakout stars from like the past year or so, look no further than this person right here. Like Kai has been on an absolute steamer with recent results like at Bremen, for example, and continuing that with a really strong performance in Bilbao as well. One of the absolute breakout stars from the UK Pokemon TCG scene, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Kai, been around for a number of years, you know, I can remember seeing him at cups and challenges and stuff over the years, you know, and it's only been sort of the last year or two that he's really started hitting those upper echelons of the tournaments, but so consistently at the minute, and wow, as you said, what a breakout star.
Yeah, and sometimes it only takes like one breakout result, right, because, you know, you see there that's before, because I remember seeing him at a few League Cups as well and thinking, oh yeah, I remember this player, and then now all of a sudden he's tearing up tournaments left, right and centre. Like, where's all this come from?
When did this happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, COVID gave everyone a chance to practice a lot.
That is true,
especially when we were sat indoors. Some people, you know, working from home, you know, PTCGO at break time and stuff. So definitely some time to practice. And again, you know, a great game. And a game 3 again. Adam, unfortunately, we didn't get to see him realistically even get into that game 3 at all. It was sort of taken away from him at first base realistically, and Kai was able to just run away with it. And wow, those Inteleons proved their worth, grabbing exactly what he needed at the right times, pushing him forward to the point of no return. Yeah,
so huge congratulations to Kai there. And again, unfavorable matchup, and Kai was still able to pull it out. Just, I mean, granted, Adam did not have the best of starts. That game is very clear. Like, his deck was not cooperating with him. Marnie path to brick himself is not really an ideal place.
Not what he would have planned to do, I don't imagine. But
no, absolutely not. But even so, it just goes to show the strength of Palkia as a whole, right? Because consistency is king, as you mentioned earlier. And Palkia is one of the decks that I think embodies that spirit the most, arguably.
Absolutely. I think its results speak for itself. The deck speaks for itself. Inteleon what an engine it is, you know, the scoop up net, everything that goes into it. As we said, even the small intricate things, you know, Bucket being able to, you know, have an item to grab your energies, the odds of you missing energy that much lower, you know, you have a strong attack, but also your ability allows you to get energies as well. You know, you've got so many different ways to have access to the cards you're looking for during a turn. It's not often it misses, and it is a shock when it does, I'll be honest. Yeah. But, you know, Kai, and clearly showing that he knows how to play the matchup, you know, played well. You know, we saw him, he didn't have the best of starts in all the games as well. You know, game 1 he had a very slow start. Obviously we saw him end up losing that game, but he was able to still find a way to where he was in the game to the last couple of turns, and of course Adam ended up taking it away from him. But the other 2 games I think are really dominant performance from Palkia, and it really took charge.
Yeah, very much so. It is interesting to see as well because, of course, we were talking, or I was talking with Russ at the beginning about not at the beginning, but sort of before the tournament, about the merits of Palkia by itself against Palkia with Kyurem, because of course Hisuian Gudra is a deck that we saw win very recently in Salt Lake City, and that is a deck that Palkia by itself really struggles against, but it's also a deck that Palkia with Kyurem basically not auto wins, but has a very favorable matchup against.
Definitely, and I think that we will see much more of Palkia this weekend, but for now, the most important part, let's get Kai up here for his winner's interview, and we'll cut to that now after a short break. See you in a minute.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I am here with our feature match winner, Kai. I'll ask the obvious question first. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great, yeah. I'm really happy. I mean, just like, yeah. And
so, are you gonna
yeah, so like, I mean, I got to play Adam and I won, right? So
yeah.
It feels so good, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. We were kind of talking a little bit just how it seems like recently you've kind of been almost like one of the breakout stars of the UK community. You kind of, because Benj and I both talked about how, you know, we'd seen you around at League Cups and such, and then suddenly Bremen, you smash it with like, you know, the finish that you had, and now it just seems like you're an absolute, you know, steamrolling of results. Like, how does that feel? Like, just knowing that you kind of had this like breakout success all of a sudden.
Oh, it feels. I mean, it feels really good. So like during the like lockdown and stuff, I started playing tournaments on Limitless.
Right.
And
okay.
so like it helped me loads because like before I was like, oh, day 2, like that's what happened. But then like the online tournaments had like a day 2 phase, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get into the day 2 phase, you're like, well, I mean, I don't care about day 2. I want to go further. It makes it like way more relaxed thinking about it. You just take one game at a time and just go. And like, I mean, I practice like played off and right.
No, of
really
course.
Fun. And the game I really like the game right now. So
that lines up pretty well with what Benji said as well, because he said exactly, yeah, a lot of people had a lot of time to practice over COVID. I guess you probably made the most of that, to safe to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's like really fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about your deck choice, being a Palkia and Talion. Of course, it does still see play, but ever since Lost Origin, it definitely has seen like a bit of a downtick in the amount of play it has, and a lot of people instead opting for Palkia with Kyurem instead. Yes. So what made you opt to go for the Palkia and Talion rather than the Kyurem variant?
So I mean, I feel like the Palkia Intel's like more powerful, right? I mean, not like you can't one-hit KO stuff as easily, but you get to play Roxanne, right? And Roxanne, like with Peak or a way to like disrupt. I mean, you have Greninja to like and stuff like that, right? So you can like KO Manaphy or stuff like that. Or you can KO 2 attackers at once with quick shooting or something, right? And Roxanne, so you can like destroy board states. And you get to attack with a Palkia that does lots of damage for 2 energies, right?
Yes.
So like, I feel like that part of the deck makes it easier to win games you're like losing, right?
Right,
and so if you can win the games you're losing, that puts you in a really good spot, right? Because if you win the games you win anyway. It's harder to win more games, right? Yeah. So if you turn like losing games into winning games, it like makes a really big difference.
And actually, we kind of saw that play out in game 2, right? Because obviously game 3, Adam had a really horrendous start, and you just capitalized on it. But sort of game 2 was a little bit more back and forth in that sense.
Yeah, definitely right. I mean, so like, so you can come back. You have like Roxanne, and you have Inteleon, which is one prize attacker, right? So you can go 2-2-1-2, and the intelligent attack is quite good, right? Because
Yes.
you expect out pings, so you can get 2 things at once. And like that's just super strong, right? Like forcing like the extra prize and Roxanne and force them to have a boss is quite good as well, right? And yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So then the only factor that I guess, and it kind of ties into another question I would ask anyway, is the Kyurem gives you an ability to beat Hisuian Gudra. Obviously, Hisuian Gudra won recently in Salt Lake City. Did you go into this tournament thinking that was kind of going to be like a one-off thing and that it wouldn't be that present here?
I think it's going to be here, but because I think the deck is generally just very strong, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I feel like less people play it, right? And
Yeah.
I'd rather just be good against everything else. And like it's the Palkia into Gudra, like there is a game you get to play, right?
Yeah.
You have like Roxanne and their draw support is less strong.
Yes.
Right, and so we can mess with their board, right? And we still have plays where we can like cross switcher and then boss the Gudra back, and we have a Horn which like makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
right?
that's very true.
So I feel like it's not like too bad, but I mean obviously like it's a good matchup for them. But and I mean Palkia's good bad matchups are like I mean I played against a Regigigas, and normally you think Regigigas is bad, but that Regigigas is like this is my worst matchup, right? Because their strong matchups like so strong, like like close to 50-50 is like bad for them. So yeah.
It's so what then? So would you say that's? I'm glad you mentioned the Regi deck because of course that was another deck that kind of saw a breakout increase in success recently. And like, what's your opinions on like that as like a Palkia player? Because I think that originally a lot of the lists were like kind of focusing on the Regi Lecky, but that's kind of like less the case now. So would you say like kind of the Regi deck is something you're less scared of now compared to before?
Yeah, I mean because before they were like out to get Palkia, right? They play, like you saw people playing 4 choice belts and stuff like that, right? Whereas now they have to like worry more because they have to dedicate slots to figure out how to beat random like Gudra and those guys, right? And so they don't, and because there's less Palkia. Whereas before there was like Worlds, there was like more than half the deck was Palkia, right? So it makes sense to tech against Palkia, but now there's like maybe 1 in 10 or 1 in something Palkias. So it's like it's easier because they're not out, like there's techs against you, and you can still do stuff to the Regis. Like you have Roxanne, Horn to like annoy them. So like I played against one where in round 2 I horned the wrong Reggie.
Oh.
So it's like sort of all good stuff. And Regis is Regis, right? Like anyone plays Regis. So
yeah. So you're now starting at Frio. Obviously, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. It'd be interesting to talk a little bit about your background because I mean we were talking a bit before, and you mentioned even like playing against Adam, right? That you kind of usually used to like seeing him judge.
Yes.
And now you're kind of sort of playing against him and forgot to beat him. So like, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like
so in the London area, like there was like a League Cup, and Adam and his father used to like judge at that League Cup, right? So so I used to just go to locals because I live in London. I was like, oh, I'll just go to like League Cup because I used to play VGC, and I thought like in my spare time I'll just go to like League Cups because there's actually like there was 2 in London at the time. So I was like, and then Southeast London is actually quite a good scene, right? And so I was like, oh, we could get the train and go to a bunch of cups. So I didn't really think about going to like big events, and then the lockdown happened. I really missed the big events, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna try my best to go to them and try and like. Because the big events are just more fun, right? Really fun.
Yeah, of course.
You get to meet lots of people and make friends and just play lots of Pokemon, right? And you get to play lots of like interesting games because people have like different ideas on how to approach different matchups, and you get cool ideas and cool interactions, right? Which is really fun. So that's why I started to go to more tournaments.
And then was that kind of the subsequent motivation for you to like make the jump from League Cups to actually start going to regionals and such?
Yeah, so I went to a few, but I only went to like the internats in Germany and the one in the UK. But I actually really like traveling overseas. It's actually really fun for me. So. Like, I prefer it to playing in the UK, like, I mean, because you get to see, like, new food and new people, right, and different language, and, I mean, Europe I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, we're here in France right now.
Yeah, definitely, and it's actually, I mean, for me, it's easier to get to France and Lille because I'm, like, south of London, right?
Oh, right, of course,
So I can get one bus to, like, Lille, and it was fine, right? So, yeah.
So you opted for the bus instead of the train?
Yeah, the bus was cheaper, and I got free food.
Oh,
yeah. Like
okay.
the bus got on a ferry, and they gave us a food voucher. It's like, well, this is even better.
Wow.
Like,
can't complain about that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No worries at all. And all you watching at home, we hope you enjoyed that round, but we've got plenty more action coming up, so don't go anywhere.
Bye.